The smell of freshly baked bread. It's one of my favourite smells. And in fact it was voted in the UK as one of their favourite smells last year, beating even bacon into second place. Well, today we're going to be thinking about what Christ said when he said, "I am the bread of life." As we know, that's a metaphor, but metaphors are pictures that help us understand more about Jesus.
Dad, did you get the bread from Morrison's?
Oops. After a month and a half of wandering in the wilderness after God had led them out of Egypt, the Israelites began to complain that they didn't have enough food to eat and were starving. But God heard them and told Moses that he would send a special bread from heaven that people were to collect daily. Moses told Aaron to gather the Israelites together. As Aaron spoke, God appeared to them as a great cloud. God told Moses, "I have heard the Israelites' grumbles. Tell them in the evening you will eat meat, and in the morning you will be filled with bread. Then you will know that I am the Lord your God." When evening came, God kept his promise. Birds called quail came and covered the camp, giving the people meat to eat. In the morning, as the Israelites looked out, they saw thin flakes like frost glistening on the desert sand. At first they didn't know what it was, but Moses told them, "This is the bread the Lord has given you to eat." And he told them to collect as much of it as they could. When the people tasted it, it was amazing. It tasted like wafers made with honey, and people called this special food manna because they had never tasted anything like it. Moses told them not to keep any of the manna until the next day, as God would provide more of this special bread for them. Some of the Israelites ignored Moses and kept their manna in jars, but it was full of maggots and smelt badly. Each morning the Israelites did as Moses said. Moses told them to collect twice as much as they needed on the sixth day, so that they didn't have to collect any on the Sabbath, God's day of rest. When the Israelites opened their jars on the Sabbath, expecting some pongy, maggot-infested manna, unlike the other days, God had kept it fresh. And so God continued to provide food for his people, quail in the evening, and God's special bread manna sent from heaven in the morning. To understand what Jesus meant when he said he was the bread of life, it's helpful to know what happened the day before, when Jesus performed one of his most famous miracles. You'll probably know it by the title, "The Feeding of the 5,000. Do you remember it? Crowds of people were following Jesus, and he fed them using a boy's lunch of 5 small barley loaves and 2 fish. And he fed everyone. The crowds loved it, and they went away having eaten loads. Well, the next day the crowd went back looking for Jesus again, but they found that he'd crossed over the lake. So they went searching for him. And when they found Jesus, Jesus pointed out that they were only looking for him because they were hungry and they wanted another free lunch. Jesus tried to explain who he was, but even though they'd seen an amazing miracle the day before, they wanted more proof, another sign, like the manna God provided for the Israelites in the wilderness. They were hungry and they wanted free bread to eat. Then Jesus told them, "I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me will never go hungry, and whoever believes in me will never be thirsty." You know, we all need to eat, and bread is the most basic of foods. But when Jesus said that he was the bread of life, he was reminding them that they'd had a bigger need than their hunger. Bread, even the manna that God provided in the desert, only stops us from being hungry for a short while. A few hours later we get hungry again. We'll eat more bread and then we get hungry again. It doesn't stop us being hungry for long. It doesn't satisfy us. Jesus was telling them that there is a different bread, a living bread, that is the only way that their real need, their sin that separates us from God, could be dealt with. Not just for a few hours, but forever. Jesus was saying that he was that living bread. By dying on the cross, Jesus made it possible for our sin to be forgiven, and for each of us to enter into an everlasting relationship with God. But Jesus was the only way this could happen. When we ask for his forgiveness, when we invite him into our lives as our King, and we follow him completely, then, and only then, will our spiritual needs, our spiritual hunger be met. You know, the crowd were fixated on bread, food that would stop them being hungry for a while. But Jesus is the living bread, who, when we make him part of our lives, will satisfy our spiritual needs forever.